is in session. This
Woo.
is the last episode, the last class of Accademia Giallo of 2023. I can't believe it, you guys. And unfortunately, uh, Bryan, who was
Oh,
very so much looking forward to talking about the movie at hand today, could not join us, but he's here in spirit, and hopefully he'll catch this later, and we will have done him proud with our dissection of 1982's. Yeah, see what I did there? Pieces,
yes.
directed by Juan Piquer Simón. If I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but yeah, we're gonna give it a shot. So today I'm joined once again by my esteemed faculty of Aaron Christensen of Horror 101 with Dr. AC and John Kitley of Kitley's Crypt. And yeah, we're going to talk about a film that for once, this happens very rarely, but I have actually seen the movie that we're going to talk about
Oh,
before.
I
This is
thought you
not a first
hadn't.
time. I thought I don't know where that came from. I might have misspoken during a live stream or miscommunicated something during an email, but I have seen Pieces. I had not seen it in, oh my gosh, possibly 10 years. So it's interesting when this was floated as an idea for Accademia Giallo. I thought, well, Pieces is a slasher movie. This doesn't fall into the Gialli category. But then, just about as soon as I popped it in, I realized, yeah, this is a Giallo. But based on the conversations we've been having these many years, I saw a lot of the signposts. I'm excited to get into this with you guys. So let's start with our experiences of Pieces. Kitley, I'm going to let you go first because you're doing the rock concert thing. You are wearing the T-shirt of the band you showed up for, so to speak.
I'm that guy.
So
Um,
how did you first come to Pieces?
well, that's a whole different episode. Um, Probably back in the video days when it was released, because it's one of those that's just so gory. That's the first thing that you're gonna, as a gore hound, you're gonna be drawn into. But then the more you get into the Italian stuff, and you realize that it's a combination of a giallo, but just so over the top in its absurdity, in the gore, in the red herrings. It's almost a shame to call it a giallo because it really makes fun of that kind of. But again, it's just so over the top that I don't know how you can watch this and not be entertained.
Very much so. I mean, from that opening scene, which we'll get to, I remember watching because I think I had been listening to some horror podcasts or something, forever ago. They said they were talking about Pieces in this outrageous, bloody movie. I'm like, I got to check this out. I was not prepared for just from the opening scene with the axe murder. But how many times have you seen Pieces, John?
Multiple.
Okay.
I've seen it at the drive-in. I've seen it in the theater at least twice. Maybe at the drive-in twice, but it's been a few times, and I cannot tell you how many times I've seen it on VHS and Blu-ray. It's been a
Now,
few.
I want to ask you the drive-in and the theater experiences, were they like the old beat up kind of original prints you might see at a drive-in or a grindhouse, or were they kind of the restored, like, oh, we're projecting a Blu-ray thing?
No, it was the first time I saw it at a drive-in was the last. Believe it or not, it was the last feature ever to be screened at this drive-in before they tore it down, which was here in Aurora, which was depressing as hell. But that's a whole different story. I don't think Grindhouse Releasing had reissued it by that time, so I think it was a film print. Um,
Wow.
then I saw it at the Music Box in one of their 24-hour marathons, which I got to say, seeing this at like 5 a.m. is a whole completely different surreal experience. Um, but I have seen, I know like I said, the original drive-in version I had seen was a film print. So, but I don't remember it being terribly like grainy quality or whatever. It was still a decent print.
I bring that up only because of pretty much of all the movies we've talked about, or a good number of them, this feels like it needs to have the scratches and the and just that
Yeah.
warrant. I mean, it feels so dirty and exploitative and weird that, I mean, there's nothing wrong with watching it on a nice cleaned up Blu-ray, but there is something, especially if you're going to go out and see it. All right, AC, how about you?
Well, I also have a full frame DVD rip of a VHS. So I get what you're saying, and I agree. It's just one of those that feels kind of naughty and dirty from the beginning. My first introduction to this film was the infamous prom night where I watched this, Evil Dead, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Howling 2, Your Sister's a Werewolf. So that was my prom night, which should tell you what a swinger I was. It was, but Pieces was the final film of the evening, and it basically the sun was coming up when the final moments rolled around, and I remember my friend Jim, who was hosting, his mom came down the hall just as Kendall gets the big grab, and she was like, "What the hell is this?" And we were all like, "I don't know," but because it was VHS, we rewound that scene about 8 times. And anyway, it was a glorious memory. And like John, I have seen it many, many times over the years. I've also gotten to see it in the theater. I've not done the drive-in thing, but there's something about being in a theater full of people all shouting along. This is a film that needs like a shadow cast going along with it, because there's so many great lines, there's so many great moments. It's just I just think it's one of those amazing films. And I just watched a documentary on Juan Piquer Simón.
Really?
It's on the Severin release of Alien from the Abyss. No, that's not right. Extraterrestrial Visitors. And that's Synapse, I think. Sorry. But it was a great, it's a 100-minute documentary on his career and how he would kind of follow the trends. He was very much a B movie maker, but he would always have huge successes with his movies because he would deliver something that kind of one-upped what the genre was doing at that time. So yeah, and I think this is certainly a one-up on both the Giallo and the basic slashers we were seeing.
Well, one of the things that I love about Pieces that I kind of just discovered in this viewing, because I think this is only the second, maybe the third time I've watched it all the way through in that long decade. I don't have to make an obscure or reaching Friday the 13th reference, because the film does it for me in the dorm room where Kendall, our protagonist, is getting it on with a lovely young co-ed, and she sits up because he's got to go do something and she wants him to stay because she promises she'll be quiet. There's a Friday the 13th poster hanging up right behind them, and this is 2 years after that movie came out, and it definitely does feel like as you put it, a one-upsmanship on just the slasher. There's stuff that I'd forgotten about in terms of the kills that is still shocking to me, including the fact that, hold on, I got to put on the spoiler banner for this one, just in case you haven't seen Pieces. First of all, shame on you. Fix that right away. It'll change your life. But okay, there's the elevator kill where a young lady she was in the gym, right? She was coming out of the, was she swimming, or she was coming out of there's so many nameless co-eds.
I think she was our dancer. I think she's our dancer.
Yes.
The dancer.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. There's dancers, there's swimmers, there's private investigators.
There's tennis players.
That's right. They cover. It's almost like
it's like a decathlon.
Yeah.
I was going to say the setup for every bad porno movie from the 70s, but so our dancer, really. Right. Well, our dancer gets into an elevator, and the killer gets in with her, carrying, I swear to God, a giant chainsaw behind his back.
Mm-hmm.
And when he gets in, he cuts her straight in half. Her body is discovered by.
Well, actually, sorry, he lops off her arm in the elevator. The cutting in half is in the bathroom stall.
Okay.
Yeah.
See,
yeah.
Thank you.
That's the swimmer.
Thank you for. Okay, that's why it was the swimmer. The other, I think, point of confusion is there's so many co-eds and so many sports activities. They run together. Plus,
and they don't get very much of an introduction either.
Not at all. And a lot of them are killed in cubicle situations, like a shower stall or an elevator.
Yep.
Okay, I think it was the girl who gets chopped in half or maybe it was the elevator. I don't remember. But she's horribly mutilated. We get a look at the body, and then the cops show up and they're like, someone get an ambulance here. She's barely hanging on. I'm like, wait a second. What?
That is the elevator one. So she gets her arm lopped off, and that I love that scene because they're like, what do you know, like she's barely hanging on. We got to try and talk to her. Talks to the doc. Doc's like, she has no chance at all. And basically it's just done. I'm like, she's alive. She's not alive anymore. Never mind.
No,
because one of the characters peeks into the elevator and sees like this pile of meat. I'm like, there's nothing there. It's all in pieces.
Yeah.
So yeah, this movie has a very cheeky sense about itself, including possibly one of my favorite characters in the history of cinema, Willard, who's the disgruntled the groundskeeper. He's sort of the Harry Dean Stanton from Alien of this movie. He's just kind of like poking around, like, what am I gonna be done with my contract, and what am I gonna get paid? And he's got this great. He looks like Bluto from Popeye, but he's got Popeye's eye, where it's just
that is Bluto.
That was him.
That's Paul Smith.
Yeah,
from Robert Altman's Popeye. Okay,
right.
that makes so much more sense now. And I watched Popeye a couple of years ago. I'm fine with having to turn in my critics card. I don't like that movie. I've given it a couple of chances.
Does anybody like that movie?
Lots of people. Man, you're gonna find stands for Popeye all over Film Twitter or Film X, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
I know it's weird, but no. If this Willard had been Bluto in Popeye, like just the character, whole different movie, all-time top 10. I'm sorry, I'm distracted because I keep looking over at IMDb, and they have film stills from the movie that they show. It's all the same girl. I think it's the swimmer, including the shot of her rear naked behind in the stills that are on the front page of IMDb when you look up pieces. So I'm like, I gotta scroll down. This is weird. Anyhow, let's talk about that opening scene. I know I'm jumping all around here. We're doing this. It's a very fragmented episode.
It's in pieces.
That's right. Oh, by the way, I got to pull over a second to say hello to Jonas.
Hey, Jonas.
He says, hi, guys. Hi back. Glad you could join us. But so it opens in 1942, so 40 years before present day. And there's a little boy putting together a puzzle in his room. And it's a puzzle. I don't know where you buy these puzzles. I got to find the shop. It's like a 300-piece puzzle of a naked woman. Yep. And mom walks in and she's very disapproving. She scolds him. She says, go get a bag. We're going to throw this out. I'm going to burn all your stuff. And he comes back, not with a bag, with a giant axe, and proceeds to hack her into bits. Then he sits down to complete the puzzle. And the cops, there's a neighbor lady or a maid or someone knocking on the door. There's no answer. So cops come in, they break down the door. He is at this point hidden in the closet. When they open the one closet door, they find mom's severed head. In the next closet over is the little kid crying like, oh, there's someone attacked and there's blood everywhere. Cut to 40 years later. It's a co-ed college campus in Boston. And I still do not understand the first modern day kill
with the mirror.
It's a Warner Brothers cartoon of like a plate mirror truck pulling up, and these guys walking this comically large piece of glass. Maybe it was for the ballet studio across the street. You've got a girl who's roller skating and listening to her Walkman. She plows right into the thing, is horribly killed. What does that have to do with anything?
Watching her skateboard is seriously like she's like doing this, like balancing act, and she's waving at people. I had the exact same thought. I'm like, is this ever addressed ever again? And the answer is no, it's not. And, but it's a great way to kick things off. And that's one thing that JP Simon was always about, he was about the moments. He was like, we're going to deliver something every 5 minutes. We're either going to have some nudity, we're going to have some violence, we're going to have just some insanity, and all of the above. And that's why he was a great B filmmaker, is that he really would deliver those exploitation elements.
Well, Pieces is not the film you want to start questioning anything, because it literally is there just for what it is. It's over the top. It's absurd. It's damn entertaining. But don't sit there and go, wait a minute. If that guy was over there, how could he? No. It's no.
Well, I asked just because even though I've seen this movie a couple of times, I still couldn't figure out, was there a connection that I had just missed? Like,
nope.
She wasn't like
they never refer to it again.
Okay, so it's not like, oh, it's the dean's niece or something, and that's what set him over the edge. No, it's not a Friday the 13th Part 5 situation. Second reference. Then immediately after, there is another kill. A young lady reading a book on campus out in the pleasant, idyllic green grass in the sun. There's a guy trimming trees with a chainsaw. She kind of looks over and is like, don't worry, ma'am, I'll be done in just a second. She goes back to reading her book. All of a sudden, she looks up. Guy with the chainsaw is bearing down on her. This kind of violates the rule of 3 because it's a murder montage with only 2 incidents, right? Like, shouldn't there have been a third? But it's strange, especially now living in our era of social media and connectivity, that this story didn't get out much. Like, there's no reference to the plate glass window or mirror girl. There's no real reference to that chainsaw death. It's only when other bodies start piling up that there's one reporter from a local from the Boston Globe. I'm surprised they got that brand name in there, who comes snooping around like, I heard there might be something going on. And everyone's like, no, there's nothing going on. What are you talking about?
Like they're doing a great job of covering this up. I'm like, wait a minute, there've been like three deaths in the last 20 minutes here. And the Boston Globe's like, we hear there's something going on. I'm like, and I love the fact that they're like, no, like they just have been able to keep this completely under wraps.
It's bad PR. You don't want that going out of college that people are getting butchered. I mean, next thing you know, people won't go to college.
That's right.
Well, I mean, it was probably another 20 years or 10 years at least till the Boston Globe started uncovering other unsavory things. I think they got a little bit more dogged in their reporting in that ensuing time. But no, so there's all these murders happening. The cops are short-staffed in terms of people that they could send in undercover to work this case. So here's another point where I'm confused. Maybe it doesn't matter, but just help me out on this one. There's Mary Riggs, played by Linda Day George. Any relation to Christopher George, our lead actor?
She's his wife.
What?
Yep.
Okay.
They wanted a trip to Spain together. I mean, come on.
So they were married before this. They were like, oh, okay.
They were a power couple in the 70s.
No idea. This is changing my life. I might need to pause this live stream and come back like in a couple of weeks to process this. But okay, so she plays
first Bluto, now this. Ian is done for the day.
Pop culture references are just flying in.
I did it. Look, I'm all ready for a Christmas break. I didn't do my studying for this class.
She's a Golden Globe nominee. He's an Emmy nominee. And
not for pieces, surely.
You wouldn't know it from this movie, but yeah, they were thriving professionals. And again, this was toward the end of Christopher George's life and career.
Yeah.
I think this may be the last thing he did. No, he did Mortuary, or at least Mortuary came out at the end. That was the last one I think he did.
Well, we talked about a film.
Linda Day George as well.
Right. And Bill Paxton.
Yep.
Ooh. Well, we talked about another Christopher George here on Accademia Giallo a while ago, and I'm blanking on what it was.
Did we?
The one where he's the author?
No, I don't think so. I think that was Tony Franciosa.
You thinking of Tenebrae?
Maybe it was Tenebrae.
I don't think Christopher George has done another Giallo that we've talked about it.
I distinctly remember watching a movie where he pops up, and I don't go looking for.
Well, okay, so we did do Gates of Hell a few years back, and he is in that.
Okay, there you go. Mystery solved. But okay, my mystery is Mary Riggs a champion tennis star and an undercover cop, or is she a champion tennis star who hangs around the police station and the cops are like, we need you?
Well, she says, this is my job. So apparently she is a famous tennis player who's also an undercover cop. It's a yes and.
Yep.
Right. But doesn't undercover cop cancel out star tennis player or vice versa?
I mean, When you're gonna get somebody of Mary Riggs's quality to come and coach your college team, I guess you don't ask too many questions.
Or any at all, apparently. But she teams up with Kendall, who's played by Ian Serra. And I love this guy, not just because the actor shares my first name, which I thought was kind of rare, but also because he's that rare breed of leading man in a movie that he's a complete scumbag and he's also kind of the hero, and he also gets his comeuppance at the end of the movie, possibly, because I'm not convinced that last shot is not some kind of again, Friday the 13th, survivor girl in a boat fever dream.
Yep.
But we'll get to that. But no, he basically skirts death by cheating on various women because he's in the library and this one girl that he's interested in says, I'm going to go for a swim, meet me in the pool. And he doesn't go to meet her in the pool. He goes to have apparently a 30-minute sexual encounter with someone else while his other girlfriend is getting butchered in the pool. He's somehow back from this tryst into the library in time for his friend to pass him a note that was dropped off at the dean's office to say, hey, come meet me at the pool or something, discovers the body, horrified. He winds up being almost deputized into helping the cops out with this investigation.
They're shorthanded.
Look, they're shorthanded, and then there's this kid.
Oh, they're shorthanded. And plus, Christopher George trusts this kid. He's got a good feeling about him.
Yep.
He didn't obviously ask around campus about this guy because he's like, man.
I love that his lieutenant, or not the lieutenant, his buddy, Frank Bryan, he's like going, you can't, he's a suspect. He's like, no, you're wrong. I trust this kid with my life.
And then at the end, when they're getting ready to break into, spoiler alert, the dean's office, because they figure out he's the killer, Kendall's like, can I come in? Like, no, absolutely not. He's like, but come on. He's like, but Dad. And he's like, okay, fine.
That's right. Just stay close.
And then he almost busts through the door, and Christopher George has to slap him against the wall pretty much to keep him out of harm's way. Also, how far away did the cops go during the entire encounter where the killer dean is attacking both Kendall and Mary in that office? I no idea what's going on. But again, John, to your point, I'm going to try not to think about this movie too much, although it's the only thing on my mind, including Linda Day George, who I think is absolutely fantastic in this movie. She's like an actual actress dropped into the schlock, and I felt when she gets paralyzed by the poison tea or whatever, she's doing so much work with her eyes and her expression. I'm like, oh, you don't have to try this hard. I mean, you're amazing, but just you can dial it back a bit. This isn't going to win you any awards.
Yeah, but nobody picked up on it.
That's right. That's right. That she wasn't communicating to her co-stars. So
nope.
Speaking of dialing back, there's no way she could dial back her amazing delivery of bastards, bastards, bastards. It's truly one of the most iconic line readings in horror history. I will sign my name to that document because I can watch that clip on YouTube. I can be in the worst mood and I will pull that clip up and the sun is shining once again.
Well, refresh us for the context of that, because you can't just drop that bomb. Help us out.
Well, no, because she and Kendall. Well, first off, let's just talk about the fact that Mary Riggs is a champion tennis player, and I love it that like one of the first days she's on campus, she just beats the living snot out of a student in an exhibition match, and the crowd's like, yay, and they like strike up the band and everything. I'm like, she's a tennis pro and she's playing a student, and wow, it's amazing. She just destroyed him. Anyway, she and Kendall are supposed to play tennis one morning. They show up, the speakers are going wild. And the reason why the speakers are going wild is it's our killer covering up the murder of our tennis player in the bathroom. That's the one who gets cut in half, and you just come in and find the pile of guts. But the reason why the killers turned on the loudspeaker to be a distraction. And as Linda Day George will say, while we were out here fumbling with that music, he was in there killing her. That bastard was in there killing her. Bastards, bastards, bastards. Anyway, it's just astonishing. And that's where, like, when you said she's a real actress, I'm like, and then there's the moment that she's really going for the Oscar.
I don't know what else you can look. Okay, I'm not going to stand up for you. You
I
got
was
me.
going to say, I don't try to defend that one.
I can't, except maybe she was doing the best with the material at hand, because it's hard to deliver that that repeated 3 lines.
Especially when they're on all caps. I mean, what am I supposed to do?
You got to also figure that the director probably told Paul Smith, "Hey, you're kind of a red herring in this, so you want to look menacing." So
Yeah.
every time he's on camera, he's leering at, "Hey, when are you going to be finished?" "I don't know." And then they cut away and he's looking back. Just every time he gives you that grimace, and you're like, I wonder if he's the killer.
Hey, we're just buying clothes without labels and trying them on for size, you know?
Which, again,
I love that. I love that line.
That line epitomizes this movie right there. They're just trying shit and seeing what sticks. Hey, we're going to do this. It doesn't make sense. We're going to put a girl on a skateboard through a glass window. Okay, we'll do that.
Yep.
A co-ed gets her head chopped off in the middle of the lawn during the daylight. Nobody notices.
Nope.
Okay.
I also like that the pool girl, that's what I'm calling her, the one who was supposed to be meeting Kendall, the killer grabs her with one of those nets, like the pool nets. I mean,
completely incapacitates her.
Right. I was thinking you got to be able to slip out of it. I mean, it wasn't even really twisted around her, just like a little bit like that. And she was really out of it because she has no reaction time. And of course, she sits up against the column, which allows him to, take care of the rest of the business. I also like
just falling over into the pool away from him.
Right.
That's true. Well, she
also
wasn't.
love
in
the
her
fact
right
that
head.
Kendall is in the pool at the same time Paul Smith's in the pool. Like, why he's not a suspect, but Paul Smith is clearly a suspect. It's like, oh man. And I love the fact that Paul Smith just goes ape shit on the 2 cops who come in. Also, why are the 2 cops there? Why are they there? Anyway.
They heard that. I was going to say they heard she was going for a dip. I don't know.
You also have, after the murder scene, Jack Taylor, another Spanish favorite, walks up and just blatantly touches the chainsaw. "Don't touch that. There's fingerprints." "Oh, sorry."
I think he said you might have destroyed the evidence.
Yeah, you might have destroyed some. Well, you know.
I just love also that I'm trying to figure out how to say this. The girl, before she gets in the pool, she's like taking off all of her clothes, as happens in all of these movies. But her jeans are so like skin tight painted on that it's not sexy. It's like comical how long it takes her to get those pants. She's like sitting there struggling to get them down off of her calves and everything. Just these bizarre little touches. Also, I knew from the outset that could not have been Willard, the Paul Smith character, because the killer, and this is the first I've seen any movie, I think even in Giallo, killer wears loafers. I mean, they are like brown. At first I thought they were black, but they're brown loafers, because those usually the intimidating tracking shots of the killer's footsteps are like gradually going down the stairs. I'm like, he's wearing loafers. Oh, it's got to be the Dean. And sure enough.
Well, speaking of bizarre touches, before whatever you were going to go on to, because this won't take long, because it's about Chow, the Kung Fu instructor, who just one of those like completely random guy jumps out and he just starts karate chopping at Linda Day George, knocks her gun out of her hand, knocks her to the ground, and then kind of like seizes up and passes out. And then comes to after Kendall comes along and says, "Oh no, it's just Chow, my Kung Fu instructor." And he's like, "Oh, I'm out for jog and then I'm on ground. Bad chop suey. Bye." And you're like, what just happened? And the answer is that just happened.
There's so like every third character in this movie could have their own spin-off that has nothing to do with what's going on in this film.
They all have their own private lives. Yep.
Right. And Kendall's private life very much involves his privates. I mean, the cops are short staffed, but he has a third arm, as we see kind of in the silhouette as he's jumping out of the one bed to see what's going on campus. I mean, it's unbelievable that like nobody ever really addresses it. I guess it's up to the film at the end to kind of give us karmic justice, because the whole time I'm thinking this kid isn't particularly bright. He's not particularly nice or smart. I think he's constantly trying to get into bed with the hot tennis teacher, champ slash undercover cop. Well, who has, I gotta say, our Mary has terrible hearing, because when Kendall walks Mary back to her apartment or dorm or whatever, he asked to come in for a beer or a nightcap or something. He's like, another time. Very nicely letting him down. Closes the door. He turns around and his friend is there scaring him, that guy with the glasses. And Kendall lets out a scream,
Yep.
like a real big yell that you had to have been able to hear on the other side of that door. What's going on? Unless Mary was like, thank God. I was hoping he would be next.
I also just love that, like, his friend is just like spying on her room, like just kind of like waiting there with a fright mask on. And he goes, Casanova. And I was like, what the hell? I just want to high five JP Simon like over and over and over again.
Now,
That's why Kendall was such a hot commodity on there, because his friend is the other
the only other guy.
Yeah, the only other guy. So I mean, you got a choice of that idiot or, well, okay, I guess Kendall.
Yes, we'll go with Kendall.
Yeah.
That is kind of true. I mean, well, there is always Willard. He's always skulking about. I want to pull over. Indie Phantom says Pieces is a trashy Giallo classic, fun to watch it with an audience if you have a chance, as has been attested to earlier in the show. So yeah, I would love to catch this in a theater at some point. Maybe like you said, it was at Music Box of Horrors a number of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those that, of all the absurdity stuff that we're talking about in a crowded theater, just gets amplified to 11. And literally when the bastard part comes up, you can hear a freaking pin drop, and then everybody's just like, yes, one more time. It is truly a highly memorable movie memory for myself.
One of the things I also learned watching this movie is that putting a puzzle together with gloves on is really hard. But they stay with it. I mean, there's so many shots that they just hang on, and like while he's trying to put the puzzle in with his gloved hand, and you're like, seriously, like you couldn't do another take? And they're like, no, we're gonna stay on him until he gets that damn puzzle piece in place. Same thing happens when he's pulling the picture out of the box, and he's like reaching in and like just really trying to get this picture out of. Hang on a second, I'm almost there. And I'm like, no, don't cut at all. Hang in there. So good.
You know, I picked up on that too, and it gives me an idea. Well, actually, you just gave me the idea, AC. If there is a Pieces revival, maybe for the 50th anniversary or something, or 45, and you want to do like an event, like get some of, I don't know if any of the cast is still around, but special events, have some games, games for prizes, win a signed poster, win a movie ticket. In the lobby, you should have like a stand with a whole bunch of nude puzzles that you have to put together, but you have to do it with those black leather gloves. It's almost like a pie eating contest.
I love do the pie eating contest first. Make it like cherry, because then you got the
really
red
sticky
stuff all over
the
stuff over the gloves, and then you're putting the puzzle together. And when Grindhouse released this on Blu-ray, it came with a small reproduction of that puzzle.
Whoa.
So cool.
I gotta find that. It's probably like $1,000 by now, but I'll have to look it up.
I'll sell you mine for $500.
See, you already got 50% off. This is good.
Yeah, it'd be great. And I can explain to my kids, well, you know what? College didn't really work out, but hey, I got this awesome collectible Blu-ray.
You can also just tell them to take some uppers or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice. All right. One thing this movie had, in addition to Friday the 13th product placement, a fast food chain that I don't think I've ever seen represented in a movie before. Wendy's.
Wendy's gets some serious product placement.
I couldn't. I nearly, if I had been drinking a Frosty, I would have spilled it all over myself. I couldn't believe it.
Well, they
Um,
used the department's full budget, you know, because Christopher George said after they're all shorthanded and everything, he tells them like, "We'll use the full department's full budget if we have to."
Or that was in Christopher George's in his contract. I get fed Wendy's. When I'm here, I get fed Wendy's.
So our dean, let's talk about the dean of students.
Edward Purdom.
Yeah, is he where would I know, where should I know him from? Anywhere? Has he done
Well,
other
looking to
things?
you, John.
Oh, gee, thanks. He was actually a pretty, I guess, a pretty well-known actor in, I believe is it Italian? Yeah, I think he's Italian. I mean, he made close to 100 pictures. He's been in a couple of thrillers. He's also made some schlocky films outside of pieces, such as Don't Open Till Christmas?
Oh, that's right. That's right. The Santa Claus one.
Yeah, and then he was also in another Simon movie, The Rift, which is also Endless Descent. This is, I think, at the later part of his career, I don't want to say lesser quality films because these are some of my favorites.
Yeah.
But probably not as well known as some of his earlier films. But yeah, actually, he's uncredited in Beyond the Door, which that's kind of a shocker. Maybe he was I don't know what he was in there, but he'd been working since the 50s. So to have him in there as a name was kind of a big deal. And I mean, when you think about it, you had Christopher George, and Linda Day George, who are big names at that time. Paul Smith, who actually was a pretty popular name even before Popeye. He was the Turkish prison guard in, I think, Midnight Express.
Right.
So if you ever saw that movie, you know you would never want to go to Turkey, period, because of him.
Well, and Paul Smith, didn't he do like a bunch of like Italian Westerns as well?
He did. Okay, so there's another Bud Spencer and Terrence Hill made a huge comedic Western, the Trinity movies, with them together. Because those are so popular, they partnered Paul Smith with a skinny blue-eyed actor to kind of do the same thing. So he had a huge career as well. And you'll see him every now and then. He's a big guy, and he's not one to be trifled with either. There's an interview with him on the Pieces disc where he was over in Germany and apparently had a run-in with some Germans because he's Jewish. And that went on his record. So when he went back to Germany to make a film, they're like, "You made some trouble when you were here last time." But yeah, and then you have Jack Taylor from Spain, who'd been in a buttload of movies. This whole film just reeks of what it's trying to be, and that's a parody of a Giallo slasher film, but it still takes all the elements very seriously.
Yeah.
But on the American, now granted, the original title translates to, I think, A Night of 1,000 Screams.
The Scream has 1,000, or The Night has 1,000 Screams.
Yeah. So Pieces is the American title, which epitomizes what it is. And even on the poster, it says not only you don't have to go to Texas to have a chainsaw massacre, but then it also says it's exactly what you think it is. So it's not making any excuses or trying to pretend it's something different. It is exactly what you think it is.
So you bring up that it's sort of a parody, I guess, of the genre. Can we talk about that a bit? Because I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to figure out.
Well, I wonder if parody's the word is so much as just kind of like amping it up. Like it's almost like an inflation of the genre. It's like it's almost like a caricature of the genre.
Yeah, they're not taking it serious.
Well, but here's my question. Like, and I would have to know more about our director and I guess the writers. Where's the difference between something like being an amped up version of a genre film and just a bad version of a genre film that is so outrageous that people say, "Oh, this has to be on purpose." I'm literally, I don't know the answer, so I'm legitimately looking to you guys to see what you think about this, because I love pieces, but it's that weird fine line of like, I can't tell if this is just 90 minutes of happy accidents that turned it into this gonzo classic, or if it was a deliberate thing. And if it is deliberate, that raises the genius quotient even more, because as we've seen in number of cases, when you set out to make a bad movie, you usually end up just like with a boring movie.
Well, I think he's not looking to make a bad movie or a good movie. He's looking to make a really entertaining movie. And if that means things are a little goofy at times, he knows that'll be entertaining to people. And if I go overboard with the gore, that'll be entertaining to people. If I show some boobs, that'll be entertaining to people. And so I think it's more along those lines of how many, fun moments can I jam into this in this movie. And, again, on this documentary, JP Simon was, and I should say Juan Piquer Simón, but JP Simon, he was an established filmmaker. He'd been around for many years and was respected within the genre, within the filmmaking, in Spain. And so for him to attach his name to a project meant it was probably going to be commercially successful. And that's because he was always going for what's going to appeal to the masses as opposed to what's going to win some Oscars.
Right. And I think if there were to be a schlock Oscars, this would be, in the pantheon. Because again, I do really appreciate this movie. I don't want to seem like I'm trying to, over intellectualize or anything. I'm just curious about like how this got made, how it came together and was released.
I think it feels like a bad movie, right? Like if you were watching it, like the acting is weird, the screenwriting's weird. And like this would kind of fall into what most people could categorize as a quote bad movie. But it's like I think it's beyond that. I think he's not caring about those elements so much as he is about what's going to get a reaction out of the audience.
Yeah. Plus, keep in mind this was one of the producers and the co-writers was Dick Randall, right, who was known for over-the-top schlocky trash cinema. I mean, he did the Don't Open Till Christmas movie, but he also did the Extraterrestrial Visitor that you mentioned. He did a few films with Simon, but he also did Slaughter High. He did Challenge of the Tiger, Supersonic Man. So I'm assuming some of the crazy dialogue was from him.
Mm-hmm.
And probably some of the promotional stuff. A lot of what this turned out to be was probably him, because it could either be that or it was written in Spanish, and when the translation came over to English, something got a little fuzzy. But I have a feeling that he was, as the co-writer and producer, he was trying to make the movie that he knew he could sell. And the end product is definitely something that is sellable.
Do you know how this was received? Was this movie a hit? Because I mean, I had heard references to it, like I mentioned before, I saw it like on podcasts, but it didn't seem to have the cultural relevance of its kind of brand name contemporaries.
I mean,
I think it was popular only because of the VHS days. Right. It was popular on videos. That box art, if you're looking for a horror movie and it's got a body and a chainsaw on it, I think this would work.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, it did have a little bit of a holdup. It was shot in 82, like right in the prime of the slasher boom, but that release got delayed until 83. And so it kind of missed its super sweet spot. But at one point it was the 5th highest grossing film in the US. Like when it came out, like it was up there. It made a ton of money.
When did this come out? Like what time of year, what month?
I don't remember what year, or I'm sorry, I don't remember what time of the year, but yeah, I remember seeing like the thing on that documentary where they're like number 5, like, right up there with, films like E.T.
According to IMDb, it was released in September of 83 here in the States.
Okay.
That's perfect. The other thing, you guys have seen this movie more than I have. is the dean's foot fetish established much earlier? Because it feels like it came out of, maybe I just noticed it towards the end and he'd
Well,
been
I think
obsessing over them.
I think what he's looking for are the perfect feet to fit
For his body.
his mom's shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just something, I don't know. I don't remember him like getting that amped up over other body parts.
Right. No, and I
Like
agree
in
with that.
I thought I was watching a Tarantino movie after a while. But yeah, I mean, to that point, like at the end, apparently our Mary had the perfect feet because she goes over to visit the dean and he poisons her tea and basically paralyzes her. So she's aware of everything that's going on, but she can't move and she can't speak. And then like the cops, or I guess the lieutenant and Kendall, get the tip off at the same time that Christopher George gets the tip off, and they figure out what's going on. They converge on the dean's house. Um, the dean gets shot in the head after there's a struggle because he's hiding in the curtains. The Help me out here. The cops come in. The cops come into the
Great,
dean's
Ian.
office.
You're doing great. Keep going.
They come into the dean's office / living room. They see a paralyzed woman laying there. The cop is like, he's got to be somewhere around. She can't speak. She's trying to gesture with her eyes. I'll buy that they're not picking up on that because she's just like, intensely looking, pretty much at us. They're going to do a thorough investigation. They don't start with the giant curtains that are, maybe they're like, he would never
That
be
are
so
moving.
that are moving.
That
They
are
must be
moving.
like, he'd never be so stupid as to hide right in front of us, but he did. So the cops leave. Kendall is like, I'm gonna get you out of here. So he picks her up off the couch. I was very surprised that he didn't try and like grab some side boob, because that's the kind of guy we're dealing with here, honestly. And then the dean comes out with this amazing knife. I mean, it's huge, and some of the glints, like we see the glint of the light off the blade, and I swear it takes up the entire screen for like a split second. I mean, J.J. Abrams must have watched this movie on repeat as a young lad. But yeah, so there's a struggle. It's a really pretty intense struggle. It's legit for a kind of genre movie like this. I had forgotten how the whole exchange ended. So while they're struggling over this knife, I'm like, I'm on the edge of my seat. But the cops finally, I don't know, did they go to Wendy's and then come back to complete the investigation? Because they were gone for a long time. Shoot the dean. Yeah. Shoot the dean in the forehead. He collapses. Everything is fine. And then was it, I keep wanting to call him Thor, like the big, tall, gray-haired lieutenant guy.
Frank
Branagh. He leans against what turns out to be a false bookcase, spins around. There's the corpse, Frankenstein, that the dean had been putting together, all these body parts. It comes out and falls on Kendall, who screams as this body is lying up. And I swear to God, the actress who was playing the corpse, you can see her smiling. Did you notice that? She's like
she's happy in her work.
That's why he picked the head, because she had a smile.
I think it was more like, okay, I'm playing a corpse, but this guy is a terrible actor, and I can't keep it straight.
Now I'm wondering, like, which one of is she the swimmer? Is she the dancer? Is she the I'm like, which one is she? I'm actually wondering, like, if one of those actresses ended up getting that gig as well, being the corpse.
She was just so giddy. This was going to be her big break. It's all uphill from here.
Well, so that's how it's a weird situation because I watched this movie very early, as I watch all of these films. And I distinctly remember the end of Pieces. I've been carrying around with me for a decade or however long since I saw it, because it really did do something to my brain.
Yep. The
hand coming up and grabbing Kendall's crotch. But then when this bookcase thing and the girl falling on him, I like, wait, is the movie over? I remember him screaming at the end, but I don't remember this. And I was kind of let down by a false memory until we cut to some time later. They're all still in the office. There's sheets over these corpses. and they're like, okay, we can go now. Kendall goes to grab his jacket, and a hand comes up from below the screen and just scratches and squeezes his junk into a bloody pulp. And we end this terrific freeze frame of him screaming in agony. What I noticed this time, because I always assumed it was the dean, I thought he was somehow alive. And a couple minutes earlier, I'm like, no, he got shot square in the head. Like his brain is all over the
That
office.
would be ridiculous, Ian. He was shot
that
in the
makes
head.
no sense. How
Jesus,
could it be the
come on.
dean? Wow. I mean, come on.
Pay attention.
There's logic going on here.
Look, I understand Accademia Giallo is a remedial class, and I'm coming from the AP section. No, no, but no, this is the first time in the 2 times I've seen it, or 3, that I caught the fingernails, like the painted fingernails and the kind of the corpse rot on the hand. It's very subtle, but I'm like, okay, so that makes sense. This is all a fever dream, because in my imagination from the previous time or times that I'd watched it, the dean wasn't actually dead. But no, this is all. I imagine Kendall's
it's the reanimated Frankenstein corpse.
Yep.
Right. So I imagine him like on the ground with this corpse on top of him. And this last scene is just him like going insane, like probably in an asylum or something, and reliving this moment over and over again. Like, hey, I got my crotch ripped out, but at least I didn't have a Frankenstein, co-ed laying on top of me. I don't know. But it's a masterful way to end a movie. It's shocking because it opens with a really intense, bizarre image of this little 12-year-old kid hacking up his, mom in the 40s, and ends with a guy getting his balls pureed. It doesn't get much better than that. This is pure cinema.
Well, when you go back to My Prom Night and you have Evil Dead tree raping, and then you have Equal Opportunity with ball squishing, I was like, man, like nobody's ever having sex again. Sorry.
Was this your way of coping, saying, well, this is what happens when you go to prom?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. You don't want to have prom night, folks. I'm just saying. I don't know about the rest of you. I'm going to stay home.
So yeah, I guess this that sums up Pieces. But what am I missing? Is there any bits of trivia or history or significance we can go over here? Because I feel like this can't be it. This movie's too important to just let go.
Something I noticed this time around is that I thought our Boston Globe reporter looked a little like Daria Nicolodi, and I'm wondering if that wasn't by design. I feel like she's kind of wearing a similar outfit to Daria in Deep Red. So I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. It was something that popped into my head and I wrote it down. The other thing is that Christopher George, ladies and gentlemen, is the uncle of Wheel of Fortune's Vanna White. Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Thought that was fun. And Ian's done. Tap out.
My family has recently started watching Wheel of Fortune again. And I honestly don't know what to do with that information.
I didn't either.
It does seem like everybody in show business knows someone or is connected to someone in showbiz or politics going way back. Wow. It's like that weird stat where you find out like Brad Pitt is related to Barack Obama or something like that. No, I'm serious. I think that's an actual connection through like
is that right?
I'm
okay with that.
Let's see. All right, we've got a couple of comments from Jonas to close things out. I've bought Footprints and Hotel Fear on Blu-ray. Do you like the films? I don't know those.
I don't know either of those films, Jonas. You've stumped me.
Is it just Footprints? I know Footprints. Isn't there one Footprints to Satan or something like that? No, I'm drawing a blank on that one.
I don't know. Well, Jonas, if you can leave us some more information in the chat. I don't know if we'll get to it today because we're 5 minutes out, but if you can get it in.
Yeah, throw something in the comments later.
Yeah. And are they gialli or are they just not just, but are they just regular horror movies? I don't know. Anyway, I just like to say, as we come to sorry, Kitley, do you have anything to close out on Pieces?
It's exactly what you think it is. That's all you need to do.
Yep.
Footprints on the Moon. That's what the movie is.
Okay.
Oh, I thought it was okay. It says Footprints on the Mon. I thought it was like a Jamaican horror movie. And Severin. No. Okay. Severin releasing.
Yeah, Severn put it out. I have not
Okay.
seen that one, and I have not seen Hotel Fear either, which is an Italian horror,
Oh, okay.
but I haven't seen
I
that one.
didn't know if those were J.P. Simone films as well.
No,
All right.
Hotel Fear is Francesco Barilla.
Love
So
his
I'm gonna have to
pasta.
look into that one now.
Maybe we look into it next year as we continue Accademia Giallo, because this is the last class of 2023, as I mentioned at the top of the show. And I just want to thank you guys for continuing to hang out and educate me on all things Italian horror and the ways that Friday the 13th connects to all these movies. I really appreciate it. But yeah, so we'll be back next year with more great titles to talk about. We'll also have Bryan back with us. Hopefully, Bryan, we miss you. We hope that we did the movie justice. If you have anything else you'd like to contribute to the discussion, drop a comment below, or maybe we'll have a pieces part 2, more pieces of pieces at some point in the future.
Pieces party.
There you go, a pieces party. But anyway, everybody, I've been Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. Once again, we have Aaron Christensen of Horror 101 with Dr. AC, John Kitley of Kitley's Crypt. Oh, hold on a second. Happy Christmas, everybody. Thank you, Jonas. Happy Christmas to you too.
And happy 40th birthday to Pieces.
Yes, because that was the other thing, is I always thought of this as a 1983 movie, but it's actually 82, but 83 as far as the American release. So this counts. All right. I should have brought like party hats or something. But anyhow, I just want to say, everybody, picking up on Jonas's sentiment, have a scary Christmas and a hacky New Year. What do you think of that? Huh?
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. That joke was kind of hack. Anyway, please, everybody out there, thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the pieces discussion. If you liked it, leave a like and leave a comment down below. What do you want to hear us talk about or watch us talk about in the new year that is 2024? As far as Giallo, there's a long list of movies still to go through. We want to know what you think, and join the discussion. But until next time, please remember to support my lovely and talented guests. All their information is down below. Please like and subscribe to Kicking the Seat. And until next time, whenever that is, whatever that is, class dismissed.